Hey there everyone, today I'll be making a review on the Denon AH-C751s. So I bought them probably a couple of weeks ago, and I've been wearing them and listening to them for quite a while now, and I finally came to a conclusion that I really like these earphones. So what are these earphones? How do they compare, and well, what's my opinion on them? What's the pros and cons? First of all, let me go into the negative side, the cons. The earphones themselves are quite large. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I'll just put this on. They're quite large and they stick out quite a bit. So as you can see, like that. Anyway, so they do stick out quite a little bit. Well, for me that isn't a problem, but for some other people that could be. Now, this magic extension cord, I don't understand why really manufacturers do this, because I really find this pointless. Look how long this is. It hardly comes, well, it comes just back to my belly button. It is pretty useless. I'm never gonna have an iPod or whatever, or my Samsung over here. I'm always going to have it in my pocket, so this is kind of useless. And this is its major con in some ways. People claim that it's quite heavy on the ear, and it is just because of this extension. This little extension bit here pulls down and kind of drags your ears down in some ways. A way I found of going around this is actually putting the earphones around your ear. So for example, like so. And I find that kind of knocks out the weight quite a bit, because your ear has more, well, can hold it much better. In terms of the actual cabling, it's as Mark said from HeadFi, and thank you for him for recommending them to me. They do magically detangle the wire. Like, I can just put it up together, and then I'll just do this, and it would just magically detangle. Bang. I don't know how, don't ask, it's just the wiring is actually very good. In terms of durability of the wire, it is quite nice wire, and I don't think it will break like the Sony EX500s or EX700s wires. In terms of the jack, well, it's a standard 3.5mm gold-plated jack, as you would expect really. Well, funny that Sennheiser, the IE8s and IE7s don't provide that, but it's a gold-plated jack, so you won't have any problems with that. In terms of the actual tips and all the accessories provided, I really do like the carrying case. I mean, it's quite hard. I don't really use it, but I can see people using it, and it's really nice. In terms of the extension cord, well, as I said, I have to use it, but I find it kind of pointless why Denon have done that. In terms of the tips, I haven't actually been using any of the tips. I've been instead using the TX400s by Comply instead. The T400 or TX400. I bought the TX400 because there was only a couple of pound difference. I found that the isolation with the Comply tips is greatly increased, and even without the Comply tips, I still think the isolation is quite good. In terms of the actual the wire over here, by the way, when you put the left and right buds together, this sometimes gets stuck. It's because if it gets twisted, I don't know if you can see that. If it gets twisted a little bit, it won't work, and you have to untwist it in some way. So over here I always have a problem. I just untwist it and get it out. But except for that, in terms of cons, I can't really see anything else that I could point out. I wouldn't really suggest these for people which like classical music, because they do not focus on any the instruments are in some ways lost in comparison to the other phones I've heard. There isn't as much clarity. However, bass-wise, which I really do like, it really does emphasize the bass. It's very punchy, very out there, and very loud. I haven't heard any other phone out there, earphones, sorry, which can compete in terms of bass level, in terms of the Denon 751s. I really do like the bass in them, and the clarity has improved. Bear in mind that if you do buy these, they will need a bit of burning, and I have to admit that I haven't fully burnt them in yet, because I mean, I've only had them for a week or so, and I've been using them maybe an hour or 2 hours a day, and I'm sure that will the clarity con of it will get better over time. However, when you first get it out of the box, you'll find, oh, they sound kind of muddy. The bass is really strong. I can't really hear the treble. The mids and highs they're not even there, you know, for example. But they will shine through as time progresses, and I'm sure in maybe a month or something, I'll think that these earphones are the best that I've ever got. In comparison to other earphones out there, in comparison to the EX500s, for example, the EX500s hold a bit better clarity and have got better wiring in terms of, like, they don't have that stupid extension. But the 751s have actually better durability, much better bass, and much more fullness in sound. In comparison to the EX700s, I find the Denon 751s are edging to be a bit better, just because they've got a slightly punchier bass and don't have the high spikes, as Mark put it, like the 700s. In comparison to the Westone 2s, for example, I prefer them except for the comfort and except for the wires. The wire from the Westone 2s was the best I've ever seen, and the comfort of the Westone 2s is like they weren't even in your ears. However, and the isolation was quite nice of them, quite nice on them as well. However, the 751s, I find that are, well, the sound for me is much better, especially in terms of the bass department. I really prefer them. How much do they cost? Well, they're under £100. I think you can find them in the UK for £60 to £70. For that price point, would I pay that money? Yes, I would pay that money. I wouldn't pay the initial £180 or £140 when they first got released, maybe a couple of years ago or something like that. I wouldn't pay that. However, for the price point they are at now, or anything cheaper, I would pay for them, especially for an upgrade in terms of the EX500s. In terms of, there was a confusion between the, a guy messaged me on YouTube saying, what's the difference between the 700s, the 710s, 710, sorry, and the 751s. Basically, just to clarify, as Mark clarified to me as well, the 700s have been discontinued for quite a while now, and the 751s are the ones which replaced them. The 751s now got discontinued and got replaced by the 710s. What's the difference between 710 and 751s? Well, I heard the difference, and also Mark heard the difference. In terms of the 710s are clearer, but have less punchier bass and are a bit kind of, well, lost in terms of sound. They aren't precise in terms of sound-wise, whereas the 751s are more precise and have a much more punchier bass, however lose a bit of clarity because they need to be driven a little bit better in terms of an amplifier or something like that. So it really depends what you want. Bear in mind that the 710s are almost double the price of the 751s in the UK. Would I pay double the price for it? Hell no. The 710s are, you can't find them under £100. Whereas the 751s, I'm sure you could probably find them, well, £60, as I said, you could probably find them for £60. It's almost double the price. I wouldn't pay for that difference. The only thing that the 710s do have is that they're only one cable, just like the EX500, for example. They don't have that stupid extension, which in reality, the only downfall that I found with the 751s is that extension cable. If it wasn't for that extension cable, I would say they have been the perfect IEMs that I've ever bought. Or universal IEM, sorry, that I've ever bought. Especially for the price. So, really worthwhile, and I can't really recommend them more. So, I mean, I hope you enjoyed this review. I haven't been too technical or whatnot, but I hope this has given you a better idea on what to buy, what not to buy if you like them. In conclusion, the 751s are really bassy. They do focus quite a lot on bass. Clarity isn't as apparent, so they won't be as suggested for classical music, for example. So I wouldn't buy them for classical music, or if you're into that genre of music. However, if you're into hip-hop, R&B, or D&B, anything like that, anything around that line, I'd really suggest the 751s, because you really feel the bass and you'll be like, yeah, cool, sort of thing. You'll be rocking your head to them. The cons, basically the wiring, the extension cord, sorry, not the wiring, the microphonics, there's none whatsoever. You can't really hear the wire hit or anything like that. As I said, the only downfall would be the